Weapon damage, it can be such a headache to work out how much you are actually dealing against an enemy ship. So, why don't I take a stab at trying to explain it to you? I'm Admiral Pegasus, and this is Star Trek Fleet Command. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now today I'm going to try and explain weapon damage math. Yes, we're going to try and break down the math for weapon damage. Now I'm literally going to try and keep this as simple as possible, which means I'm not going to cover everything in explaining how to do the maths, but I will cover as much as I can in the way of showing you what there is, where to find it, and the total formula to actually do it based on my ops level, attacking red dots with that thing. Yeah. Now, I will say off the bat that it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be exact. But at least we get a better understanding. We will be looking at a couple of battle logs that little baby's been done for me, because there is also the ship's ability, which also throws in a new math curve as well. Now, I will just say as well off the bat that I am not including any critical hits, so any critical damage, any PvP, station research and anything like that, because there are various researches that's going to help boost your weapon damage. We are looking at energy weapons purely for the Explorer, for that thing, the Taurus. But luckily the maths for the others is pretty much exactly the same. So let's jump in and start with the beginning with the Taurus. Yes, now I will just say this: some ships do have the specific ability of increasing weapon damage. Now, this can be pretty niche, as this one is, because this one is only against the interceptors. So when this thing goes up against a Findra, a Kiera, or if it's really, really lucky, it'll go up against a D4, get its ass handed to it, but it will still increase its weapon damage by 50%. And we will show that in a battle log later in the video. But first of all, we need to jump in and ask, what is weapon damage? Well, pure and simple, weapon damage is what these things kick out. And what Scopely have done is they've actually given it a number. Now, to me, giving it a number value, okay, all well and good. Well, what good's a number value to me? So I've changed it to points. Yes, so I'm saying 630 points and 771 points. We have a minimum and a maximum. So your weapons will always fire in there. Because if you've looked at your battle logs, you'll always see your weapon damage always varies wildly on how much damage it's actually doing. Now, granted, you've got things like mitigation, which basically throw off a large chunk of that 771 off into space. Then the shields absorb 80% of what's left over, and the hull only takes a whopping 20%. So in reality, out of that 771, you pretty much only guaranteed that probably 85's actually getting through to the actual hull. Yeah, 85 points out of 771. But again, that's a whole new level of math. Yeah, we're not even going to touch on that. But we're not even going to use these values neither. Because the values I'm going to use is I'm going to use 100 points. Because that doesn't give me an average. And do I want to sit there adding these two together, dividing it by 2, just to get an average, which is most likely going to end up being a decimal place? No, I don't. So we're going to simplify it. We're going to give you an average base of just purely for this video. And it's something you could use going forward. But what I would recommend is going forward is replace it with a minimum and a maximum, so you will need to do 2 sets of maths. Yes, 2 sets. Unless you really want to actually sit down and just work out your average. And then you can do it that way. So we've got 100 points, and we're going to start with 100 points. Now, the first thing we're going to quickly show you is how do these bonuses work and how do they affect? Well, quite simply, they take a certain percentage out of your base damage. So my base damage is 100 points. So let's just take this ship's ability, for starters, 50%. Basically, 50 points out of 100 points. Or maybe 75 points out of 150 points. You get the idea. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take that out and then you're going to stack it on top. But the problem is, well, you've only got half a pie left. You've still got 50 points left in a tray. So, yes, a tray. I'm going to use a pie as well, because a pie is an extra visual thing. Unfortunately, I don't have a pie to put on screen. So, let's just take a pie, and your pie represents 100 points. Again, as well, just to throw a mix in there, that's going to equal 1. But we'll explain that a little bit later on. So your pie is 100 points. This thing, the ship's ability, is going to take 50 points out of your pie. But no matter what, your pie, your first base level pie, will always be 100 points. Because what it will do is it will automatically refill it. Let's just take Deep Space Nine, ROM creating those self-replicating mines. When one gone, its neighbours building another one quickly. So think of your pie like that. Every time you take a slice out of it, it's going to refill in that slice. So that's your base, and that's how the researchers work. So now we're going to put that one to one side, and we're going to nip into officers, because this is where you're going to find your first bonus. Now, if we take Kirk off the deck for the minute, as you can see across the side there, the just the bonus column, not the crew stats. Crew stats mean totally different things. So the crew stats, for example, he needs the attack stat for his officer ability to work. So that's where the crew stats go, into officer and captain ability. But when you're talking about your ship's damage, you're looking at the attack bonus only. So, as you can see, it's at 0 at the minute. We're going to put Kirk back in. It automatically shoots back up to 230%. Now, when you do your maths, you literally going to take that 230% and you're going to put it in a bracket. Now, you've got a problem. You can't put 230% in a bracket. Well, you can, but not according to Scopely. So what you're going to do is you're going to change that to a decimal place. Yes, a decimal place. And how are we going to put where are we going to put this decimal place? Well, let's see if I can get this song in your head from Beyonce. To the left, to the left. So if you've known that song, so if you know what song that is, drop it in the comment section down below. Call me a geek, call me a weirdo, whatever you like. I don't care. I'll find it funny. Because, well, to be honest, Beyonce was right. To the left, to the left. So she said it twice. So move that decimal place twice. 230% immediately becomes a decimal place of 2.3. But if you, and this is where I say the 1's going to come in, yes, because your base is 100 points, 100%. Yes, move that decimal place to the left, you've got your 1. 1 will always equal base. Pure and simple. It's pure and simple. 1 will always equal base. So when you're doing your maths, you're going to start off with pure and simple. You're going to have 1 plus your bracket. Yes, your very first bracket. And in that bracket, you're going to put 1 times 2.3. So basically, that's going to be base times 2.3. So basically, it's going to say your base level, you're going to times it by 2.3, which is basically 2.3. So, there you go. Easy. And then when you put the decimal place back to where it should be, that's 230 points. Because obviously base, so 1 equals base equals 100 points. That's why I put it on the screen, just to make it that a little bit easier for you to understand. So, that is how you basically add up. And that's what you do. And then you move on to another bonus. And where we're going to find that bonus? Well, we're going to find that bonus here inside the base. Now, pop quiz. There's 3 on screen right now. I'm going to show you the first one. But can you tell me what's the next 2? Okay, what's the next 2? So your first one is what you're going to start with. Is your operation center. Now, where you're going to get your bonus from? It's your weapons damage bonus. Now, this bonus is equivalent to your operations level. Mine's ops 42, so hence the reason why mine says 42% increase. So basically, I'm going to take that bonus. I'm going to take it over to my 100 point pie. But first I'm going to do a Beyonce on it. To the left, to the left. It's now 0.42. And I'm now going to put that into a fresh bracket. Yes, a fresh bracket. It's a fresh new pie. 1 times 0.42. Boom. That's it. So now my math should read 1 plus, open bracket, 1 times 2.3, close, plus, open bracket, 1 times 0.42, close bracket. And that's going to be my maths. And now my weapons damage is building. I still got my 100 points at the bottom. That can't be taken away. But whatever's added on top of it is always going to vary in points. So I've got already a 230 point on top of it. On top of that, I've got a 42 points on top of it. And then I'm going to go further. Now, I'm going to answer that pop quiz question. What are the other 2 buildings? Well, the first one is over here. It's going to be your shuttle bay. Again, it's giving you a weapons bonus damage. This is 110% based on a level 42 shuttle bay. So again, we're going to stick that in the fresh bracket and do it as 1.1. So it's 1 times 1.1 in that fresh bracket. Yes. And then just to round off the basic maths that we're going to do, the third one comes from here. Now, this one's going to vary massively depending on the officer you've got, because Locutus is pretty much a Mardas and PvP. Kirk is pretty much exploring warp speed bonuses and things like that. We'll just have a quick look at his tree. So if we take here, increasing impulse speed, protected cargo. Down here, increases warp range and tops out at component efficiency. That's a good one, that one. And then Hunter, that's increasing your critical damage, increasing your XP. It is against hostiles, I will just say. This is increasing damage against specific faction hostiles. So on that, is it this one? Yeah. So red alert. That middle tree, basically you're going to have to decide Federation, Klingon or Roman, which one do you want? So yes, you can include that in your maths if you really, really want to, and you've got Kirk. Well, actually, if you're going up against them, you can. Now this one is aimed at Swarm. Yes, Swarm. So Kirk's going to help you boost with that one. This one, critical damage against hostiles. And then, have we all seen a critical chance against hostiles? So that's critical. So he's aimed at the Swarm and the factions specifically. And then obviously leader, well, that's officer defense. This bit is reputation gained and lost from the 3 factions. Officer health, which is always a good one to have for definite. Increasing against solo armadas, and increasing your defense stats of the officers as well. So that's Kirk. Because we've looked at Kirk, yes, we're going to have, if I can get me fat head out of the way, a quick look at Locutus as well. Combatant, player base, PvP. Here we go again, PvP. Mitigation stats while cloaked, PvP. And PvP. But this one is classification specific, so be careful. And the one thing I'm going to stress through this video is read the descriptions. Read the descriptions so you know what you're adding. Admiral, why is an Admiral? I don't know. Again, faction specific armadas. One type of armada I really don't care about because I don't do them. I do the Cardi armadas. They've got better payouts. Increasing damage against armadas again. Piercing stats against Dominion. Hang on, let me just double check that one. Yeah, against Dominion solo armadas. Now this one, that was just pure, that was armadas fault in general. This one is against solo armadas in general. And this one is against group armadas. Again, these are all adding different bases of mass to whatever maths you want to do, really. Repair speed ups, increases dodge for interceptors, this particular one. So again, that's going to be more defense stats on specific faction classification ships. Increasing rewards against the Borg probes while using the Vidar. So again, that's Vidar. Maximum shield health and maximum hull health. That's a good one. That's a good one. So you can see there. Now, I have Spock. And what Spock does for me, well, let's have a look at his tree. Mining and survey stuff with the miner. Architecture is basically resource protection, resource efficiency, and things like that. We're not going to go for each tree. Scientist is the one we're going to primarily look at for this one. And it's this one more particularly. Increases damage against hostiles. Yes, because we will be looking at hostiles in this video. Next up is officer health, and then what was the other one? It was piercing stats. Again, piercing stats adds a whole new level of maths, which we're not even going to touch. Increases efficiency resources. Increases raw latinum for the Fisher. Ooh, so the Fisher now gets an ability, and active event rewards from. Oh, I think I know what I'd go for that one. And then or efficiency on research. Bit of a bugger that I've got to choose a particular one on that one, but ideally, that's where I want. I want the 75% off that one. So again, whole new bracket based on that. 0.1 times 0.75. So, by the time you've actually done all that, let's go out back into space. This is the formula you should be looking at based on what I've just showed you so far. Yes, that's the formula. That's just simple maths. Now, that's not everything, because there is, and I've got on my list 19. Yes, 19. And we are going to quickly cover all of them. Now, these are based on my ops level. There are other ones for higher ops levels, which I will quickly show you. But again, read the descriptions, because some of them are going to be aimed at PvP, some of them are going to be aimed at space stations, and some of them are hostiles, and then others are in general. The general ones are the best ones, because they're not specific. But obviously, I will be looking at the hostile ones to do all my math. So, the first place you're going to look at is level 17 here in the Syndicate tree. This varies depending on your ops level. Mine's at 20% because I'm in the 40 to 50 range. So you got a 20% damage bonus there in the Syndicate. Next up, if you go back into your base and go into the armory and into projectiles, there are two particular projectiles you can use for weapon damage. The first one is the Cryonic Blast, giving you a 20% boost. I will not be adding this in my math because I don't have it. So it's pointless to me. The next one that I do have is the Positron Phaser. Increases by 10% damage. Both these two stack, so that gives you a 30% boost. Now the other ones do like cargo, critical hits, mitigation and things like that. And then you got others that just basically look pretty like the little rainbow beam. So there's that. Also, you've got your attack bonus off the ship, which I've mentioned. So next up is going into your R&D, because the rest of it's in research. You've only got 4 trees that you need to worry about in here. Combat, Galaxy, Away Teams, and Territory. That is it. And to be perfectly honest, there's not even an awful lot in them. Let's look at your combat tree. First up, on the top line, you've got Battle Tactics and Prime Damage. They're the boosts that you want to be looking at. Obviously, when you got to like my level, if they're not maxed, you've got a problem. Because you've not been concentrating on your research. Then you're just going to scroll through. You're going to ignore these. You're going to ignore the targeting array and everything. You're going to ignore the survey stuff unless you want to focus on your survey. In which case, survey firepower is what you're going to be wanting. Next up, Energy Blast. Because we're focusing on energy weapons in this video, this is the one we're going to be adding into the maths. 40% boost. So, but if you're also looking at your kinetic weapon, again, you can look at this one. It's just 40%. Just add it in anyway. So next up, barriers and all that, that's to do with defenses. Weaponry, classification weaponry. All of them, we've got the Explorer out, so we're going to look at the Explorer, 40%, but again, all 3 are exactly the same. Moving on, yes, there is quite a few in here. Tactics, yes, we've got Interceptor Tactics, Explorer Tactics, and Battleship Tactics. Of course, they are all going to give you the same, but it's going to be aimed at their specific class. And it all tops out at 40%, all 3 of them. So, don't need to worry too much. Then you're going to scroll on. Yes, next up, you've got your weak points. These are aimed at your specific factions. Obviously, I hit a Federation, but needless to say, they are still 25% all the way through. Now, if you're wondering about that power bar at the bottom, do not worry about it. Forget it. That's just your total power for your base. But it does not affect your ship's abilities whatsoever. Next up is the Translink Disruptors. Again, but these are niche. They are aimed at the Solo Armadas, giving you a 35,000% bonus. Station Piercing stats. Siege Warfare, that's a Station 1. As you can see, mine's currently upgrading. 14% bonus I've got so far. But again, that's aimed at stations, so that's when you want to raid a station. It's a shame you can't destroy bases in this game. Actually properly destroy them. And then Scopely gives the player a token to rebuild a new base somewhere else. To me, that'd make a bit more sense about it for a war game. But they haven't. I mean, I suppose it's something I could suggest for a massive update to the game, but I don't think they'll do it. But anyway, next one, Faction Firepower. This is what you're going to be looking at. It increases weapon damage for specific ships. Well, specific faction ships. This one is Federation. Not included in my maths because obviously the Taurus is not a Federation ship. It's an independent ship. So we don't need to worry about that one. Barrage is your next one. Again, I've got Explorer. It's a 20% boost. But I'll show you the one that I haven't got because you're going to need this Ion Particle. Yes, I've already done a Familiar Face. That was in my core missions. Light and Darkness is also in core missions. But you need to be a higher ops level. 47 or above, I think. I can't remember. And there's none in the store. So don't even try and find it in the store. But again, adds 20%, so that will be included. Now, moving further on, this is stuff that's going to be included, but is not actively on my list for the mass. Well, that's piercing stats. Yeah, that's piercing stats. Reactive damage. Increases weapon damage for all ships when attacked. Now, this one's not specific on where. Because, yes, you can have hostiles attack you in the form of the chasers in faction space and in augment space. So, will you receive that bonus? I don't know. If I'm honest with you, I really don't know, but it's there. I think it's more of a PvP one, but I don't know. So reactive survey again, when surveys attacked. Yeah, take it as you will. That's all I can say on that one. Next up is offensive strategies. Now this one is telling you it's players against player ships, so it's a PvP bonus, this one. Now given the fact it's a low percentage, and given the fact the other two were low percentages, that's why I hazard a guess that they are PvP. You've got some Armada piercing stuff as well. Targeting array for penetration stats and that. Regeneration, which is shields, but offensive strategies. This again is again aimed at player ships, but this is now specific, going for G4 or G5 player ships. So bear that in mind. And then of course, unlock ops. I can't get any further. I do apologise. Prime tactical advantage increases base damage against all non-player targets. So that can basically be like your armadas, your red dots, your hostiles, your mission hostiles. So it's definitely one to worth get if you want, but you need R&D 46. Check out stsc.space for the prices, because it is all in there. Right, next up is your galaxy tree. There's only one piece of research in here that you need to be worried about, and that's this one. Well, actually not worried about, that you need to look for is weapon refractor. Base weapon damage increase for all ships. So that's basically it. Moving out there, like I said, there's one in the weightings. Now this one is a classification research, and it's the overcharged. Yes, again, they all top out exactly the same percentage. They're all the same all the way through. So that's just attack stats, isn't it? So so you've got that one. What do they top out at? 50%. Nice little boost, actually, when you think about it. So finally, we're going to go into the territory tree. You've got about 3 in here. You've got hostile tactics, giving you, my level, another 50% boost. You've got Armada tactics on the bottom as well. The PvP ones are more these ISO cannons, the defense deflector shields, reduces damage taken in PvP, increases base damage in PvP while defending. So that basically means when a player attacks you. So there's nothing else. Next ones are on the middle line is the warfare ones. Again, classification split down. You see my levels are all over the place. So pick what ship you're fighting with, and that's the one you want to go with. I'm with the toy, so it's an explorer. So it's a 53% bonus. Now, yes, these do work on lower level ships as well, so don't worry about that. The last one in here is going to be the weapon development. Again, it's base weapon increase. So again, it's another bracket. So just to remind you, the bracket for this one will be 1 times 0.16, because remember that percentage you turn into a decimal place. You take that decimal place, you send it to the left, to the left. Best way to remember it, Beyonce's to the left, everybody's left. Oh, yeah, I don't know lines. Just that little bit of that song just sticks in my head, because when she starts singing to the left, I start singing to the right, just to really pee anybody off who actually likes that song. But anyway, now we do have one final piece of research that I can show you that I know exists, and that is down in the Bajoran faction store when it actually loads up. Here we go. So down in the Bajoran faction store, and you're going to be looking for Kira's Fury. Increases base weapon damage. Mine's at 120%. Because, well, if we scroll up, you can see Kira's Fury there, level 4. That's the next one I've got to go for. And that's going to increase it to 180. But at the minute, I stand at 120. So, that's all the research that there is. Now, I'm going to move into into the area space so you can see it better. But here's the formula I have to work with when calculating weapon damage for my ships. Yeah, that's big. So now you can condense all these percentages into a single figure. All right, you can do it. There you go. That's the figure. Or if you wanted to do it as a decimal place, there you go. So that is basic. So when you're doing the percentages, you take your base and then you plus the percentage. Plus the percentage. If you're doing the decimal places, you take your base and you multiply it by the decimal place that you've got. Hence them. So that's it. That is literally simple. But we're not stopping there. No. Because we're going to have a quick look at battle logs. So I've got 3 here. And if you remember at the beginning of the video, I told you about the Taurus's ship's ability, and we're going to show you the math. So we're going to put myself back into the middle. So taking a look at these figures, then these are roughly on the high side of the maximum damage side of my well, the amount of damage I can deliver. So it looks pretty good. Ignore the critical hit because obviously we're not dealing with critical. That just adds a whole new level of math. 8,740. That's on the lower side. So we're looking at potentially that as a minimum. Oh, there you go. There's a new minimum. Another critical hit. And we'll stay stationary here. So 9,891. So that's a good one to remember as a high number on the maximum side of damage. Now, just as a reminder as well, this is against an explorer. Yes, it is against the explorer. So next up, I went up against an interceptor to show you the ship's ability. Yes, the ship's ability, and we will see that prominent in the battle logs. Yes, we will. There it is, 10,340. So there's your boost. Is a weapon that's on the minimum side of the damage, but 10,000 hit. One just under 10,000 there, and then the rest roughly in the middle. Another 10,000 there, and I think that was it. Yep, that was it. So now, just to throw in another different ship that we went up against, where there's no triangle, no nothing. We're up against a trader. And as you can see from the figures, again, the criticals are even showing roughly the same. So you know for a fact that these figures are accurate. Well, they're as accurate as it can be. Now, I will just state a quick disclaimer here. When I did my maths, I did find a slight deficit. The deficit amounted to base damage, which I've already added. So I have brought this up with the other content creators, but as a disclaimer, just to be aware, using the math is not going to be perfect. Now, if you want a better idea of what you're going to be kicking out damage-wise, use your battle logs. Yes, use your battle logs. You can take these two numbers here. 8,489, there's your minimum. 8,540, there's your maximum. Now, go through your battle logs even further and see if you can change it. There you go. So your maximum has now gone up to 9,764. Are we going to move the minimum? No, we're not going to move the minimum. So we can just leave it where it is. But there you go, 9,806. So, yeah, you can use these battle logs. You probably need to do a few battle logs, a few runs, just to get you a better idea of what you're shooting, how much damage you are shooting. But if you are using the battle logs, I will warn you, remember, if your ship has one of these abilities, take it into account when you're working out your max and your minimum. Other than that, yeah, you can use them. Or failing that, If you're on a PC, download your battle log, send it over to Spock's Club, and you're going to get your damages based in there. Yes. So that's literally that's as much as I can say about that. So here's me blowing up a level 50, and just to show the sort of damages that I'm doing against this thing: 290, 315, and the Jem'Hadar cruisers. For a level 50, it's not exactly shooting very high. But then again, I've got Chen on my bridge, so that's keeping those weapons shots down. But anyway, that is weapon damage. I hope it has been useful and it's been educational. If it has, if you've even liked the video, please don't forget to smash the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. But until that's all for today. So until next time, stay safe, live long and prosper, and I shall catch you on the next one. Goodbye.